A very good evening to you and welcome to Primetime News on TV1, coming to you live from the Newsfirst studios in Colombo. My name is Krishan Devasakayan.
And I'm Naveksha Gunasekara. Here are your headlines for tonight.
Signs of escalation in the Strait of Hormuz crisis. Global inflation could exceed 5% due to war, warns IMF. Iran's foreign minister to visit China amid tensions with US. What happened to the opposition demanded debate on cyber theft? Have foreign cybercrime syndicates entered Sri Lanka? 37 Chinese nationals deported.
And in your top story tonight is the conflict in the Middle East. US Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth told reporters that the US-Iran ceasefire is holding, even as both sides have fired at one another in the last day. Pete Hegseth said the United States is not looking for a fight, but Iran cannot be allowed to block innocent countries and their goods from an international waterway. He added that Iran has acted aggressively towards countries whose ships are trying to pass through the Strait of Hormuz.
Thank you, Secretary Hegseth. Last 24 hours or so, Iran's fired at us, we fired at Iran. I'm just going to ask you more directly, is the ceasefire over?
No, the ceasefire is not over. Ultimately, this is a separate and distinct project, and we expected there would be some churn at the beginning, which happened. And we said we would defend aggressively, and we absolutely have. Iran knows that. And ultimately, the president's going to make a decision whether anything were to escalate into a violation of a ceasefire. But certainly we would urge Iran to be prudent in the actions that they take to keep that underneath this threshold. This is about the straits. This is about freedom of navigation. This is about international waterways. This is about free flow of commerce, all the things that happened before, and only Iran is contesting. So right now the ceasefire certainly holds, but we're going to be watching very, very closely.
Hegseth at a press briefing detailed Project Freedom aimed at allowing some commerce to transit through the Strait of Hormuz.
President Trump has directed U.S. Central Command to restart the free flow of commerce through the Strait of Hormuz under the umbrella of Project Freedom. To be clear, this operation is separate and distinct from Operation Epic Fury. Project Freedom is defensive in nature, focused in scope, and temporary in duration, with one mission: protecting innocent commercial shipping from Iranian aggression. American forces won't need to enter Iranian waters or airspace. It's not necessary. We're not looking for a fight, but Iran also cannot be allowed to block innocent countries and their goods from an international waterway. Iran is the clear aggressor, harassing civilian vessels, threatening mariners from every nation indiscriminately, and weaponizing a critical choke point for its own financial benefit, or at least trying to. For too long, Iran has been harassing ships, shooting at civilian tankers from all nations, and trying to impose a tolling system. Iran's plan, a form of international extortion, is unacceptable. That ends with Project Freedom. 2 U.S. commercial ships, along with American destroyers, have already safely transited the strait, showing the lane is clear. We know the Iranians are embarrassed by this fact. They said they control the strait. They do not. So American ships led the way, commercial and military, shouldering the initial risk from the front, as Americans always do. And right now, hundreds more ships from nations around the world are lining up to transit.
China's Foreign Ministry spokesperson has confirmed that Iranian Ministry of Foreign Affairs Abbas Araghchi will visit China upon invitation on the 6th of May. Member of the Political Bureau of the CPC Central Committee and Ministry of Foreign Affairs Wang Yi will hold talks with him.
The ceasefire between the US and Iran is being tested after both sides fired shots in the Strait of Hormuz, prompting President Donald Trump to decline to say if the truce remains in place. Trump also warned Iranian forces they would be, quote-unquote, blown off the face of the earth if they attempted to target US ships in the Strait or the Persian Gulf. The United Arab Emirates has accused Iran of attacking the country with a barrage of missiles and drones, setting an oil refinery ablaze in the eastern emirate of Fujairah and wounding 3 Indian nationals. The attacks on Monday marked the first on the UAE since Iran and the United States agreed to a ceasefire on 8th of April.
The China visit follows Araghchi's travel to Russia last Monday as part of a wider diplomatic tour that also included Pakistan and Oman. During his Moscow visit, Araghchi held talks with Russian President Vladimir Putin and also met with his Russian counterpart. The diplomatic engagements come amid heightened regional tensions following the commencement of US-Israeli aggression against Iran on the 28th February, an escalation that Iranian officials say resulted in the assassination of the leader of the Islamic Revolution, Ayatollah Sayyid Ali Khamenei, and several senior military commanders. A fragile truce in the Middle East was under strain after the US and Iran exchanged fire in the Gulf as they wrestled for control of the Strait of Hormuz. In a social media post, Iran's parliament speaker Mohammad Bagher Khalibaf said breaches of the 4-week-old ceasefire by the United States and its allies had endangered shipping and energy transit through the vital waterway.
The commander of the US Central Command, Admiral Brad Cooper, has warned Iranian forces to keep their distance from US military positions during the operation. He added that a US-imposed blockade preventing ships from entering or leaving Iranian ports remains in place and has produced results beyond expectations.
The US military said on Monday it destroyed 6 Iranian small boats as well as cruise missiles and drones after President Donald Trump sent the Navy to escort stranded tankers through the strait in a campaign he called Project Freedom. The narrow waterway, which carries a large share of global supplies of oil, fertilizer and other commodities, has been virtually closed since the US and Israel began attacks on Iran on the 28th February, causing price rises around the world. Several merchant ships in the Gulf reported explosions of fires on Monday, and an oil port in the United Arab Emirates, which hosts a large US military base, was set ablaze by Iranian missiles. Iran's Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps has effectively closed the strait with threats of mines, drones and missiles and fast attack craft, while the United States has responded by blockading Iranian ports. Iranian Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi said Monday's events showed there was no military solution to the crisis. He said peace talks were progressing with Pakistan's mediation and warned the US and the UAE against being drawn into a quagmire. The US military said 2 US merchant ships made it through the strait without saying when, with the support of Navy-guided missile destroyers. Iran denied any crossings had taken place, though shipping company Maersk said the Alliance Fairfax, a US flagship, exited the Gulf under US military escort on Monday. Iranian authorities released a map of what they said was an expanded maritime area now under Iranian control, stretching beyond the strait to include lengthy sections of the UAE coastline. After a day of reported drone and missile attacks inside the UAE, including one that caused a fire at Fujairah, an important oil port, the UAE said Iranian attacks marked a serious escalation and it reserved the right to respond. The Iranian map included Fujairah and another Emirati port, Khorfakan, both of which lie on the Gulf of Oman and which the UAE has relied on since the start of the conflict to bypass the blocked strait. The war in the Middle East has cost thousands of lives and roiled the global economy. US and Iranian officials have held one round of face-to-face peace talks, but attempts to set up further meetings have failed. Trump has said the US-Israeli attacks aimed to eliminate what he called imminent threats from Iran, citing its nuclear and ballistic missile programs, its support for Hamas and Hezbollah, and its menacing activities. Iranian state media said on Sunday that the US had conveyed its response to a 14-point Iranian proposal via Pakistan, and Iran was reviewing it. Neither side gave details. The proposal would defer talks on Iran's nuclear energy and research programs until after agreements to end the war and on shipping security. Trump said over the weekend he was still studying it but would probably reject it. The South Korean government says it is carefully reviewing its position on joining the US mission in the Strait of Hormuz. It says its stance will be based on international law, on the safety of international maritime routes, its long-standing alliance with the US and the security situation on the Korean peninsula. The Ministry of Defense added it has been in discussions with other partners led by Britain and France to support the reopening of the Strait of Hormuz. But sending a warship would be a last resort because it requires the National Assembly's approval, as the Strait of Hormuz is an active war zone.
The head of the International Monetary Fund warned that inflation was already picking up and the global economy could face a much worse outcome if the war in the Middle East drags into 2027 and if oil prices hit around $125 per barrel. IMF Managing Director Kristalina Georgieva said the continuation of the war meant that the global lenders' reference scenario, assuming a short-lived conflict, which forecast a minor growth slowdown to 3.1% and a minor increase in prices to 4.4%, was no longer possible.
The head of the International Monetary Fund warned that inflation was already picking up and the global economy could face a much worse outcome if the war in the Middle East drags into 2027 and oil prices hit around $125 per barrel. IMF Managing Director Kristalina Georgieva said the continuation of the war meant that the global leaders' reference scenario, assuming a short-lived conflict which forecast a minor growth slowdown to 3.1% and a minor increase in prices to 4.4%, was no longer possible. Georgieva said, quote, "This scenario with every day that passes is further and further behind in the rear-view mirror," unquote. The continuation of the war, a forecast of an oil price around or above $100 per barrel and rising inflationary pressures meant the IMF's adverse scenario was already in effect.
And in news here at home, the opposition requested a parliamentary debate regarding the theft of $2.5 million from the General Treasury by cyber criminals. The opposition, led by the opposition leader, called for this debate today by passing a motion with 20 members of parliament standing in support. However, the opposition leader did not participate in the debate held this evening.
This morning, opposition MPs led by opposition leader Sajith Premadasa submitted a proposal stating that a debate regarding the theft of $2.5 million from the Treasury by cybercriminals must be held today itself. The ruling party expressed its agreement to allocate time for this between 3:30 p.m. and 5 p.m. today. However, the opposition repeatedly insisted that an additional half an hour was required for the purpose.
සාවර නියෝග 19 2 ඈ යටතේ අපි 20 දෙනෙක් නැගිටලා හදිසි විවාදයක් ලබා දෙන්න කියලා නැවත ඉල්ලා හිටිනවා.
ඔබතුමල්ලා මට මේ සභාව පටන් ගන්න කලින් මට දැනුම් දිය යුතුයි. නමුත් මම මේ අවස්ථාවේදී ආණ්ඩු පක්ෂයෙන් ඉල්ලා සිටින ඔබතුමල්ලා මෙම විවාදයට තියෙනවා.
This proposal is being presented now by disrupting the proceedings of Parliament today. Nevertheless, we have no problem. We are ready to provide time for the debate from 3:30 p.m. until 5 p.m. today.
ඔබතුමා මේ පාර්ලිමේන්තුවේ මන්ත්‍රීවරුන්ගේ
අලු කතානායකතුමනි අපි ඊටාම පැහැදිලිව ඔබතුමාට කියන්න කැමතියි ඔබතුමාට අපහාසාත්මකව මෙතන දැන් චෝදනා කරනවා කරුණාකර මේ සම්බන්ධව විනය ක්‍රියාමාර්ග ගන්න කියලා. මෙතන එහෙම බෑ.
දායක මන්ත්‍රී ඔබතුමා වාඩි වෙන්න.
මාරේ සිට පහමාර දක්වා හෝ මේ අවස්ථාව ලබා දෙන්න. අර පැය භාගයකින් කප්පාදු කරන්න නැතුව.
හවස 3:00 ඉඳලා 5 වෙනකන් තමයි අද පාර්ලිමේන්තුව තියෙන්නේ. ඊට පස්සේ තමයි අජෙන්ඩ් කරන්න තියෙන්නේ.
අද 5 ඉඳලා 5:30ට තියෙන්නේ සභාව කල්තබන අවස්ථාවේ ප්‍රශ්න. දෙකක් බෑනේ. අපි කියනවා ඒකත් මේකට දීලා පැය දෙක අපිට ලබා දෙන්න.
5:05ට සභාව කල්තබන අවස්ථාවේදී ප්‍රශ්න මේ කාරණා අපි බිස්නස් කමිටු වලදී එකකතාවට පත් වෙච්ච දේවල්. ඔබතුමාලට මේ විදියට ස්ථාවරණියෝග උල්ලංඝනය කිරීමේ හැකියාවක් නැහැ.
In the evening, prior to the commencement of the debate, the opposition brought up the matter once again, requesting an additional half an hour.
සභාව නියමිත පරිදි 5:30ට අවසන් කරමින් මේ පැය දෙක මේ විවාදයේ සඳහා ලබා දෙන්න පුළුවන් නේද කියන කාරණේ දැනගන්න කැමතියි.
උදේ සාකච්ඡා කළ එකකතාව පරිදි තමයි සභාව පවත්වාගෙන යන්න වෙන්නේ.
පැය භාගයක් කලින් අවසන් කරන්නේ නැතුව අද අවසන් කරන්න හිටපු වෙලාවටම අවසන් කරන්න පුළුවන් නේද කියලා මම අහන්නේ.
කතානායකතුමා ඉන්න අවස්ථාවේ පැහැදිලිව කිව්වා 5ට අවසන් වන බව. මා හිතන්නේ අපි ඒකකතාව වෙනුව කටයුතු කරමු කියලා.
මේ විවාදයේ කාලය තමයි දැන් අපි මේ නාස්ති කරන්නේ. ඒ නිසා කාලය නාස්ති කරන්නේ නැතුව අපි විවාදය ආරම්භ කරන එක තමයි සුදුසු කියලා මම යෝජනා කරන්නේ.
පැය භාගයක් අපි අරගෙන යමු. ඉතින් පැය භාගයනේ ලාලයි කියන්නෝ.
Although the debate commenced, opposition leader Sajith Premadasa and the majority of the frontline leadership of the Samaga Jana Balawegya were notably absent. The chief organizer of the opposition, Gayantha Karunatilaka, delivered the opening remarks of the debate and then handed over the floor to Nizam Karyappar, General Secretary of the Sri Lanka Muslim Congress.
මේ කල්තැබීමේ යෝජනා මන් සභාවට ඉදිරිපත් කරමින් වැඩිදුර අදහස් ප්‍රකාශ කිරීම සඳහා නිසාම් කාර්යප්ප මන්ත්‍රීතුමාට පළමු අවස්ථාව දෙන්න කියලා ඔබතුමාගෙන් ඉල්ලා හිටිනවා.
මේ මුදල් කාරක සභාවට
We summoned the Secretary to the Ministry of Finance and the relevant officials before the Committee on Public Finance. These developments should have been formally communicated to Parliament and to the committee. The seriousness of the situation is evident from the fact that when these transactions occurred, red flags were raised. Even after concerns were officially expressed that something suspicious was taking place, it still could not be prevented. What we now hear from officials of the Ministry of Finance, including the Secretary, is as if financial regulations are not even applicable to the ministry. In the end, it is the public through increased taxes who will have to bear the cost of this massive fraud. There appears to be an extraordinary desire on the part of the government to cover this up. Naturally, this raises reasonable suspicion, doesn't it? Not just us, the deceased individual's wife herself has stated that there are suspicious circumstances surrounding this death.
88 89 කාලපු මරපු මැරිලට මේක මොකද්ද?
මොකද කොයිම අවස්ථාවක් $2.5 million
We are not stopping the investigation into the loss of $2.5 million at any point. The investigation is ongoing. We will identify who did it. Whoever committed the crime will be found. Let me say this clearly. During our time in government, we will identify the thieves and present them before court. Statements have already been recorded from 20 officials. A B report submitted to court on the 28th April. We have a memorandum of understanding with the Australian Federal Police and their assistance is being provided under that agreement. Certain segments of this investigation are also being carried out with the assistance of the FBI in the United States. But when did the opposition suddenly become interested in this issue? From the 18th April. We have already completed our work between the 22nd March and the 17th April. Investigations done, groundwork completed, and the case placed on the correct track before this fragmented opposition suddenly claimed discovery. Now they are running around crying that the government is trying to hide this. The real reason for this outcry is not our actions, but the impending court cases. Let us not forget, dairy cows imports in 2016 to 2017 caused a loss of $10.6 million. It was linked to Harrison and a former First Lady. Who spoke then? What did the same group do? Nothing. They delayed the investigations and we commenced the inquiry in 2025. The 2016 Greek bond case involving Cabral caused losses of $12.6 million. Where was this opposition then? Silent, hiding in fear under Gotabaya and Wahinda. $6 million were paid to the CI using Imad Zuberi through Ajit Cabral. Who is investigating this now? We are. The Hambantota hospital equipment fraud of $1.4 million from 2012. We are investigating it now. The Gin Nilwala project, 4 billion rupees. Who reopened the file and restarted investigations? Our government. The Badalgama project, 63.8 million euros. There are numerous other investigations underway that I do not even need to list here today. Cases will be filed. When this year ends, do not cry. We appointed 4 judicial medical officers to determine whether this death was a suicide, a murder or something else. This is a complex matter. Do you recall the Tajuddin case? A separate JMP conducted an inquiry. Then an issue arose and bone fragments went missing. A case was also filed against the first JMO. We want no such stories again. A panel of 4 experts has been appointed through the Attorney General. I will say nothing beyond this. But it is disgraceful, utterly disgraceful to exploit a dead body for political gain. A family is grieving. I want to sincerely thank MP Harsha De Silva, even though he is not present. We do not agree politically, but he showed humanity. When journalists asked disgusting questions, trying to turn this into a murder narrative, he said this is not the time. There is a grieving family. That is the difference between decency and the kind of politics we are seeing today.
On the 30th of April 2026, a complaint was filed at the Kuliapitiya court stating that her husband had died under suspicious circumstances. You are lying. The case number in the Kuliapitiya court is B88575/2026. I am tabling the letter sent by the Kuliapitiya magistrate to the Director General of Health Services on the 30th of April 2026. That innocent man died. This is an insult to the family. They have a duty to know the truth. The Minister of Justice of this country does not know that such a serious incident has occurred and that an investigation is being conducted into it. It was the Director General of the Department of External Resources who submitted the written complaint to the Criminal Investigation Department. You weren't even aware of that. On that very day, the Ministry of Finance appointed a technical investigation committee regarding this. It was based on the committee report received between the 10th of March and the 10th of April that 4 officers were transferred. You only found out about this incident at least by the 22nd of April. For over a month, we have been working with the CID, CERT and subsequently through an internal finance ministry investigation, as well as at a diplomatic level with the Australian government and several other institutions to look into this incident. Where did the mistake happen? Where did these lapses occur? We are taking steps to ensure cyber security so that those lapses do not happen again. Not only that, we are working to recover this money. That is the process we were in. You don't understand this. You can't even imagine this. Do you know why? When the central bank bond scam happened in 2015, what did your then leader, Ranil Wickremesinghe, who was the then Prime Minister, do? He appointed a 3-member committee of lawyers from Sirikota. Do you remember? That is how you tried to cover it up. However, regarding the Director of the Department of External Resources, how despicably are you trying to use that death for propaganda? Regarding these death inquiries, any death that is not a natural death is initially investigated as a suspicious death. You are taking this and trying to falsely create various doubts. Not only that, you told more lies. Everything you said about this is an outright lie. This claim that the wife said it was suspicious, remember this. 2 individuals who are not currently in Parliament had made statements regarding this through the media. Legal action will be initiated against them because the relatives have a problem. Ranga Rajapaksa's relatives are in deep shock over these statements. Today is the sermon. Tomorrow is the almsgiving. Freedom of expression does not mean telling lies. The sermon is today and the almsgiving is tomorrow. Remember, as soon as the almsgiving is over, those relatives will come and lodge complaints against those who made those statements.
අද බණ හෙට දානේ අවසන් වෙච්ච ගමන් ඒ ඥාතියින් ඇවිල්ලා මතක තියාගන්න ඒ ඥාතියින් ඇවිල්ලා ඒ කියපු අයට එරෙහිව පැමිණිලි කරනවා.
This is a statement made by ruling party MP Dharmapriya Vijay Singha following the debate held today.
What was special about this debate was that throughout it, they attempted to argue that the incident was the result of government negligence or that it was a fraud or theft orchestrated by the government. However, no MP, including the leader of the opposition, was able to present any meaningful solution or substantiate a proper allegation against the government. The opposition made all the arguments they intended to make, but the government provided responses to each of them. By that point, apart from the 5 or 6 MPs who raised the matter, even the opposition leader was not present in the House. Therefore, we believe the opposition provided an excellent opportunity to the government, which we utilized effectively. A comprehensive investigation into the incident is currently underway and further action will be taken thereafter.
Now, the government today responded to allegations arising from the theft of $2.5 million by cybercriminals, addressing the issue at the weekly cabinet decision media briefing.
මුදල් අමාත්‍යාංශ ලේකම්තුමා ද්විත්ව පුරවැසියෙක් කියලා චෝදනාවක් තියෙනවා.
If he had been a dual citizen while serving as a member of parliament and deputy minister, or while serving as the secretary to the Ministry of Finance, you would in fact be able to take legal action against him. Therefore, he is not a dual citizen. I state this very responsibly. At no point while holding these positions has he been a dual citizen. There was no discussion at the cabinet regarding the position of the secretary to the Ministry of Finance, and there is no necessity for such a discussion. Once information regarding this incident emerged, it was the secretary to the Ministry of Finance together with the senior management of the ministry who made decisions and took action on this matter. The complaints to the Criminal Criminal Investigation Department and to CERT were filed with the knowledge and approval of the Secretary to the Ministry of Finance. Likewise, an internal investigation was initiated and the decision to suspend 4 officials was taken with his approval. No complaint was made in relation to this matter without the knowledge of the Secretary. This was an issue identified through a process within the Ministry of Finance itself, and it was the Ministry that initiated investigations. The Ministry of Finance itself referred the matter with due technical expertise to the relevant institutions and investigative agencies. Therefore, there is absolutely no need for the Secretary to the Ministry of Finance to step down.
මේ ප්‍රශ්නය ඇති වුණු වෙලාවේ මාස 3ක් යනකම් සද්ද නැතුව ඉඳලා විපක්ෂයේ නියෝජිතයන් විසින් මේක හෙළි කරාට පස්සේ සාධාරණ හේතු දක්වනවා මේක උනේ මෙහිමයි පරීක්ෂණ කරනවා වැඩ තහනම් කරනවා. ඒතකොට තුරුම්බුවක් වාට පත් කරලා දැන් එහෙම කරගන්න එපා කියන ඉල්ලීම සාධාරණ නැහැ නේ. ඇත්තටම විපක්ෂ කවුරුත් මේක දන්නෙත් නැහැ.
In reality, no one in the opposition knew about this. It was only after the 4 officials were suspended that certain individuals began issuing media releases and bringing the matter into public domain. Regarding the Postal Department, investigations are being conducted into instances where funds were not received. These are matters that we ourselves investigate once the government and the relevant institutions become aware of them. When conducting investigations, protecting the credibility of the institutional system is extremely important. The opposition has no such responsibility, but the government does. Safeguarding the credibility of institutions such as the Central Bank and the Ministry of Finance is vital. On the other hand, what is the outcome of seizing on minor details, distorting facts and intervening merely to gain attention on social media and in the media? This is extremely serious. For opposition MPs and others, it has become a competition to appear in the media. However, some of these matters are issues of life. Before an investigation is properly concluded, spreading false news, creating fake posts and circulating them has already caused serious consequences. You know what has happened as a result. For this reason, I believe complaints will be made to the relevant institutions from the Family Director of the External Resources Department. Posting false news, creating fake posts, sharing them, causing severe psychological distress, branding individuals as suspects without conducting investigations. The final outcome of such actions is the destruction of lives.
37 Chinese nationals who were arrested for committing cyber crimes while violating immigration laws were deported from their country last night. The duty manager at BIA confirmed that the group had been held at the Valisara detention centre prior to their deportation. This development raises a critical question. Have organised cybercrime syndicates previously active in countries such as Dubai, Myanmar and Thailand now established a foothold in Sri Lanka? This special report delves further into the matter.
We have over the past period continuously reported on cybercrime centers operated by Chinese criminal gangs in the Mayawadi area along the Thailand-Myanmar border, where individuals were lured with promises of computer-based jobs in Thailand. A few months ago, Myanmar security forces raided and dismantled these cybercrime centers, rescuing several individuals, including Sri Lankans who had been subjected to various forms of abuse. In addition, similar cybercrime centers had been operating in cities such as Dubai and Ajman in the United Arab Emirates. By 2024, multiple raids were carried out in the United Arab Emirates, leading to the deportation of a large number of individuals involved in this cybercrime syndicate. Furthermore, with the ongoing conflict situation in the Middle East, the operations of these networks have now been disrupted. During this period, Newsfirst exposed key facts about these activities, highlighting that many of these cybercrime centers are run by Chinese criminal syndicates. As operations in Myanmar, the United Arab Emirates and other locations face disruption, these cybercrime syndicates have begun shifting their focus onto other parts of the world. Since 2024, take a look at these job advertisements published on Sri Lankan job vacancy websites. Many of these ads promise a basic salary of around 100,000 rupees or more. The qualifications listed are minimal: basic computer knowledge and typing speed. Educational requirements state that even passing the ordinary level examination is sufficient. These advertisements bear a striking resemblance to those used to recruit young men and women for cybercrime operations in Myanmar and Dubai. Have cybercrime syndicates operated by criminal gangs now entered Sri Lanka as well? What exactly took place inside such centers in Myanmar? Here is the account of a rescued young woman.
I returned to Sri Lanka in 2024. My friends and I didn't come back on our own. We were rescued. After that operation, it is deeply saddening for me personally to see similar situations emerging again in Sri Lanka. At first, the place I was taken to was very large. It had many companies operating across multiple platforms. People who had been there longer than me said that at the beginning, there weren't severe punishments. They could work relatively peacefully, but they were not allowed to leave. However, by the time I arrived, the situation had become extremely harsh. The place had been operating for a long time. Salaries were no longer paid. Punishments were severe. Electric shocks, forced physical punishments, fines, imprisonment. All of this was happening when I got there. In my view, they initially treated people well, pay them properly and avoid punishments. But later, they turn extremely brutal and force individuals to carry out fraudulent activities according to their demands. If anyone in Sri Lanka is currently being drawn into this, they may be treated well at the beginning, but eventually, even within their own country, they could become trapped, suffering individuals, and the money they promise, they will not pay it. In reality, the level of technology in Myanmar is not very advanced. Even their mindset is focused only on carrying out these operations. Their education system and resources are not at a high level. But in Sri Lanka, even if you give a young person just a phone, they can discover many things. If such software falls into the hands of Sri Lankan youth, I don't think it will stop there. It could escalate to a very dangerous level.
එතකොට මම හිතන්නේ නැහැ ලංකාවේ ළමෙක්ගේ අතර මේ softwares ගියොත් ඒක මෙතනින් නවතිවි කියලා. ඒක බොහොම දරුණු තැනකට යයි.
Meanwhile, we recently received photographic evidence suggesting that a cybercrime center linked to a cybercrime syndicate was operating in Battaramulla. These images show a group of Sri Lankans working alongside foreign nationals. A Newsfirst team visited the location yesterday, but those present had vacated the building by the time of arrival. Police also stated that 157 individuals have been arrested in connection with cybercrime within the past 3 days. Of them, 120 suspects arrested in Rajagiriya along the Madavali-Khada road were remanded yesterday. These suspects are from 9 countries including China, Malaysia, Thailand and Vietnam. Police say they had rented multiple floors of a house and carried out these crimes. Meanwhile, the Varan Anti-Corruption Unit presented 37 Chinese nationals suspected of involvement in cybercrime syndicate operations before the Kaduvela Magistrates Court yesterday. They were remanded until the 8th. Early on the 14th of last month, 9 Chinese nationals were arrested at the Bandaranaike International Airport for illegally bringing in a stock of electronic communication equipment. Customs stated that the equipment had been brought into the country for the purpose of committing computer-related financial crimes. The total value of the seized items is 24,020,000 rupees. A few days prior, 8 Chinese and Vietnamese nationals were arrested in Godakanda, Podala over allegations of conducting fraudulent activities online linked to a cybercrime syndicate.
In more local news, former Chief Executive Officer of Sri Lankan Airlines, Kapila Chandrasena, who had been in remand custody over corruption allegations, was today ordered to be released on bail by the Colombo Chief Magistrates Court. The case was taken up before Colombo Chief Magistrate Asanga S. Bodragama.
Former Chief Executive Officer of Sri Lankan Airlines, Kapila Chandrasena, who had been in remand custody following his arrest by the Commission to investigate allegations of bribery or corruption over allegations of receiving a $2 million bribe in connection with the 2013 Airbus transaction, was previously held in remand custody. The case was taken up today for the announcement of the ruling on the bail application filed on behalf of the suspect during the previous hearing. Delivering the order, the magistrate stated that taking into consideration the current status of the case and the submissions made by the President's Counsel appearing for the suspect as exceptional circumstances, the accused would be released on bail. Accordingly, the magistrate ordered the suspect to be released on a cash bail of 500,000 rupees and 3 surety bails of 10 million rupees each. The court also imposed a foreign travel ban and directed the suspect to surrender his passport. Presenting the progress of the investigation, an officer from the Bribery Commission stated that former President Mahinda Rajapaksa, former Minister Piyankara Jayaratna and Willy Gamage had been summoned to appear before the Commission in connection with the investigation. After considering the submissions, the Chief Magistrate fixed 14th of July as the next date for the hearing of the case.
Newsfirst with the people.
President of the Maldives, Dr. Mohamed Muizzu, has described Sri Lanka as a central and indispensable partner in the Maldives' development journey, highlighting the country's proximity, capacity and long-standing familiarity with the Maldivian market. Dr. Muizzu made these comments when he delivered the keynote address at the Maldives-Sri Lanka Business Forum held in Colombo.
We look to our neighbours and global partners gathered here today to join us in creating a more resilient, connected and prosperous Indian Ocean region. Sri Lanka's proximity, capacity and long-standing familiarity with the Maldivian market positions the country as a central partner in this journey. Sri Lanka businesses already play an essential role in our tourism, construction and services sector. And to the many international companies operating out of Sri Lanka, your presence here uniquely positions you to explore promising and lucrative opportunities in the Maldives. My invitation therefore extends to everyone to collaborate with us on infrastructure development, to partner with us in advancing sustainable tourism models, and to join us in expanding cooperation in sectors such as digital innovation and food security. In this effort, I see Sri Lanka not just as a neighbor, but as an indispensable partner, a country whose expertise, talent, and capacity can help shape a stronger and more sustainable future for the Maldives and for the wider Indian Ocean community.
Maldives-Sri Lanka Business Forum also saw the participation of Prime Minister Dr. Harini Amrasuriya. Prime Minister Dr. Harini Amrasuriya has reaffirmed the Maldives' position as one of Sri Lanka's closest and long-standing trade partners, highlighting centuries-old ties and expanding opportunities for collaboration across digital transformation, tourism and investment.
Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, Maldives is one of our closest and long-standing trade partners in the region. As we were discussing last night, our relationship goes back many hundreds of years. Allow me to highlight a few promising areas, among many others, as you consider deepening your economic engagement with Sri Lanka. Tourism, of course, is a key industry benefiting both Sri Lankan and Maldivian economies. Several Sri Lankan companies have also invested in the success of Maldives' world-renowned tourist attractions. We have a valuable opportunity to collaborate further in the tourism industry. Sri Lanka has an ambitious roadmap for digital transformation, and we aim for a $15 billion digital economy by 2030. I believe our talent pool, combined with our rapidly expanding digital economy, positions Sri Lanka as a strong partner for Maldives' digital transformation. The Colombo port city, as you would already know, is a transformative investment opportunity and one of South Asia's most ambitious developments. This modern financial and business district serves as a hub for finance, logistics, healthcare, education, digital innovation, and hospitality in the heart of Colombo. Excellent opportunities exist for Maldivian investors to secure a presence in this exciting development. Ladies and gentlemen, the business communities of our two countries play a critical role in our multifaceted and vibrant economic partnership. It is through your vision, innovation and collaboration that we can transform our historical, cultural and political ties into stronger trade, greater investment flows and shared prosperity for both our peoples. Excellencies, Maldives is not just our neighbor, but one of Sri Lanka's closest friends and long-standing partners. We have consistently extended goodwill and support to one another over the years.
3 major diplomatic visits are taking place in Sri Lanka this week. Maldivian President Dr. Mohamed Muizzu is currently on an official visit to Sri Lanka, while Russian Minister of Health Mikhail Murashko concluded a successful visit and departed the country today. Meanwhile, Vietnamese President To Lam is scheduled to arrive in Sri Lanka the day after tomorrow for a 2-day official visit.
As part of President Muizzu's official visit, a state dinner was hosted last night in honor of the Maldivian president and the accompanying delegation. Addressing the gathering, President Anurukumara Dissanayake said the long-standing and steadily growing close relationship between Sri Lanka and the Maldives had been further strengthened by the visit of President Muizzu. The president also noted that if the unique attractions of both countries could be jointly promoted, it would deliver significant gains to the people of Sri Lanka and the Maldives through the tourism sector. Speaking at the event, Maldivian President Dr. Mohamed Muizzu said the occasion was not merely a diplomatic formality, but a celebration of a friendship that flows gently and deeply, like the vast ocean connecting the two island nations. He said the friendship between Sri Lanka and the Maldives is built on sincere mutual respect, enabling it to overcome the challenges imposed by time. President Muizzu noted that throughout every era, Sri Lanka has extended a steadfast hand of friendship to the Maldives. He also recalled that the friendship between the two countries is not written only in official statements, but lives on through the smiles of children growing up learning about each other's flags, languages and food. This marks President Mohamed Muizzu's first official visit to Sri Lanka since assuming office in the Maldives in 2023. Coinciding with the visit, 7 memoranda of understanding were signed between Sri Lanka and the Maldives, further strengthening bilateral cooperation between the two nations. The Russian Minister of Health Mikhail Murashko and his delegation departed Sri Lanka today, concluding their 3-day official visit. During the visit, the delegation met with Sri Lanka's Minister of Health, Dr. Nalinda Jayatissa. Their discussions focused on strengthening cooperation between Sri Lanka and Russia in the healthcare sector. The delegation also visited the National Hospital of Colombo and the Faculty of Medicine at the University of Colombo during their stay.
Vietnamese President To Lam is scheduled to undertake an official visit to Sri Lanka on the 7th of May and the 8th of May at the invitation of President Anurukumara Dissanayake. During the visit, several memoranda of understanding covering multiple sectors are expected to be signed to strengthen bilateral cooperation. Cabinet approval for these agreements was granted today. The Memoranda of Understanding will focus on cooperation in the fields of information and communication technology, cultural collaboration, development of religious affairs including the promotion, protection, religious practices, values and education, cooperation in science and technology, cooperation in police training and cooperation in scientific research. The Vietnamese president is also scheduled to address Sri Lanka's parliament during his visit.
Australia, FAO and Sri Lanka launched a $1.5 million recovery drive for cyclone-hit vegetable farmers.
Sri Lanka has launched a $2 million Australian recovery initiative to restore and transform vegetable production systems in the cyclone-affected districts of Nuwara Eliya and Badulla, with support from the Government of Australia and the Food and Agriculture Organisation of the United Nations. The initiative was officially marked by the signing of a grant agreement between Matthew Duckworth, Australian High Commissioner to Sri Lanka, and Vimalendra Sharan, FAO representative for Sri Lanka and the Maldives. Designed as a 12-month intervention, the initiative aims to restore and strengthen climate-resilient vegetable production systems while placing strong emphasis on empowering women farmers and supporting persons with disabilities. More than 2,400 smallholder farmers will directly benefit from improved seed and seedling production systems, access to small machinery, and training and strengthened market linkages. Thousands more are expected to benefit indirectly. The initiative will prioritize the restoration of farmer-led seed systems for beans and potatoes while supporting the re-establishment of both open field and protected cultivation systems. It will also support women-led seedling supply nurseries and promote climate-smart good agricultural practices among farmers alongside small-scale machinery and input support.
In an evolving historic shift in Tamil Nadu's political landscape, actor-turned-politician Vijay's TVK party has emerged as the single largest party in the assembly elections with 108 seats. According to Tamil Nadu News, Tamilaga Vetri Kalagam or TVK leader Vijay is planning to take oath as the Chief Minister of Tamil Nadu the day after tomorrow. Following the results of the Tamil Nadu Assembly elections, Tamil Nadu's Chief Minister M.K. Stalin has submitted his resignation letter to the governor.
Tamil Nadu, the citadel of Dravidian politics for over 50 years with a binary politics dominated by the DMK and ADMK, is set for a change. Actor politician Vijay's Tamilaga Vetri Kalagam has 108 seats and is expected to look for post-poll allies. M.K. Stalin's DMK is trailing with the Chief Minister losing his stronghold Kolattur to TVK. The party won 73 seats. The ADMK won 53 seats. TVK Chief Vijay is set to take oath on 7th of May as the Chief Minister of Tamil Nadu after securing victory in the state assembly elections with 108 seats. The swearing-in ceremony is likely to take place at the Jawaharlal Nehru Indoor.
And that's a wrap of your primetime news for tonight.
Thank you for watching. Take care, good night, and God bless you.